There is an awe-inspiring world full of life, beauty, mystery, and secrets hidden away in the ocean, just waiting to be discovered. Join us in this amazing adventure as we explore 15 unbelievable things found underwater. Every discovery, whether it's a lost city or an ancient shipwreck rich in history, is definitely going to amaze you and inspire intrigue. Number 15. Underwater Temple Garden. Temples are beautiful constructions dedicated to the devotion of higher beings and are spread throughout the world. While you would expect to find these temples on dry land, the thought of one being submerged under the sea would elicit an expectation that there was a mishap. But in this strange case, the temple was purposefully built under the waves. The underwater temple garden in Bali, Indonesia, contains a Balinese Hindu temple compound, was built in 2005, and is the brainchild of Australian Chris Brown, a marine biologist and underwater cinematographer known for his work in creating artificial reefs and underwater sculptures. He has been living in Pemutaran Bay in West Bali for several years. In addition to the underwater temple garden being a beautiful spectacle and a home to the local marine life, the temple also draws in curious divers who make contributions to the Reef Gardeners project as part of their visit. This donation is given to unemployed local fishermen, who are then trained in the maintenance of the local coral. This means that the underwater temple garden is a job creator for the local communities and serves as an awareness raiser for the essential topic of marine conservation, as well as being a place of beauty and tranquility in picturesque Bali. Fantastic. Number 14. The Yonaguni Monument. The Yonaguni Monument, located off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Japan, is an underwater structure that has sparked intense debate and speculation among archaeologists, geologists, and historians since its discovery by Kihachiro Arataki when he was diving in 1986. Believed by some to be a man-made formation, the Yonaguni Monument consists of massive stone blocks arranged in a series of terraces, steps, and pillars on the seabed. The Yonaguni Monument's purpose and origins are still up for debate, and many ideas have been put out to account for its mysterious features. According to some scientists, the structure is a naturally occurring geological phenomenon that was sculpted over thousands of years by tectonic activity, wind, and water erosion. They cite comparable submerged rock formations from other parts of the globe as proof of the monument's natural beginnings. Others, on the other hand, assert that the Yonaguni Monument clearly displays evidence of human skill, such as its precise carvings and straight edges and perfect angles. They contend that the building's sophisticated architectural elements and symmetrical layout point to deliberate creation by prehistoric societies, possibly stretching back thousands of years. Advocates of the artificial theory argue that the Yonaguni Monument could have functioned as a ceremonial site, religious temple, or even part of a lost civilization that existed during the last ice age when sea levels were lower. However, without conclusive evidence to support either hypothesis, the true nature of the Yonaguni Monument remains a mystery. Number 13. Vampire Squid. Found underwater, vampire squid are cephalopods that are about the shape, size, and color of a football. The name vampire was given to these little squid because of the dark blood-red coloration, eye color which is sometimes blue in different lighting, and what looked like spines on the tentacles. These gave rise to the false idea that it sucked blood out of its victims, but it doesn't drink blood or hang upside down in a cave. Instead, it lurks 1,000 meters below sea level. The vampire squid isn't even a squid, nor is it an octopus. It is its own special kind of animal in its own unique group called a vampiromorphida. When the vampire squid turns its cape inside out to display large spikes on the inside, it is all for show, as it is not a predatory creature and is in fact relatively harmless, unless you are plant or animal matter that happens to float by it. The vampire squid does not expel ink when under threat, as you may assume. This is due to the darkness of its environment, making that ploy pointless. Instead, it shoots out a colorless substance that contains bioluminescent material, which shimmies in the pitch-black environment of the mesopelagic zone, startling its foe. The vampire squid also produces light at the ends of their arms as a means of defense, but also potentially as a way of communicating in its pitch-black environment. The vampire squid could also turn itself inside out as a way of avoiding predators. And while most cephalopods can't survive below 50% oxygen saturation, the vampire squid have found their way of adapting to these conditions. Number 12. 11-foot crucifix. Submerged under some 20 feet of water and ice at the bottom of Lake Michigan's Little Traverse Bay, an 11-foot white marble cross with a life-size statue of a crucified Jesus Christ is visible to curious spectators willing to venture out onto the frozen bay in winter. The crucifix was crafted in Italy in 1956 at the behest of a mourning family following the tragic loss of their 15-year-old son to a freak gun accident. Weighing in at almost a ton, it arrived at the local church after its long journey with unsightly damage, including a broken arm, and was deemed unfit to honor their late child. Instead, the crucifix was sold to a local diver from the Superior Marines Divers Club in 1962, who submerged it under 65 feet of water in the middle of Little Traverse Bay as a tribute to a drowned peer. Over 20 years later, the crucifix was moved further inland to its current location in the bay, about 800 feet offshore. Then, in 1986, the president of the Little Traverse Bay Diving Club decided to inaugurate an annual winter viewing of the submerged statue, during which divers conserve the statue and situate underwater lights around it for improved visibility. The largest viewing was in 2015, when over 2,000 people congregated on the ice. It wasn't until March 2019 that the conditions were agreeable enough to host another viewing. A hole was cut into 5 feet of ice for a clear view of the statue, which attracted an estimated 1,200 curious onlookers. Number 11. Underwater crop circles. In certain tracts of the ocean, divers know how to look for underwater crop circles, ornate symmetrical patterns temporarily carved into the sandy sea floor. But since 1995, when they were first discovered in Japan, no one has been able to explain these phenomena. Now, the mystery has been solved. Pufferfish are the culprits. The team of researchers behind the finding declared that the huge geometrical structures play a role in this species' mating rituals. Initially dismissed as mere anomalies, these underwater crop circles and relationship with the pufferfish soon garnered attention from researchers eager to unravel the mysteries of their creation. Through careful observation and analysis, scientists discovered that the intricate patterns serve a dual purpose. Not only do they function as elaborate courtship displays, but they also serve to aerate and oxygenate the surrounding sand, creating a more hospitable environment for the eggs laid by the female pufferfish. Males create the structures to attract females. Males laboriously flap their fins as they swim along the seafloor, resulting in disrupted sediment and amazing circular patterns. Although the fish are only about 5 inches long, the formations they make measure about 7 feet in diameter. It takes about 7 to 9 days for the pufferfish to construct the circles. Although some other fish construct mating mounds, the pufferfish's creation is unique for a number of reasons. First, they involve radially aligned ridges and valleys outside the nest site. Second, the male decorates these ridges with fragments of shells. Third, the male gathers fine sediments to give the resulting formation a distinctive look and coloring, Kawase said. Females base their decision about whether or not to mate with a male upon his construction skills, although the researchers still don't understand exactly what it is that females are looking for in their ideal circular pattern. If things go well, however, the female will lay her eggs in the center of the circle, and then, like most fish, the males will fertilize those eggs externally. There is a chance that it's only the fine sand the females are after, not the formation's intricate patterns or symmetry. Number 10. Underwater tire graveyard. From 1967 to 1973, 1 to 2 million tires were dumped into the water with the intent of creating an artificial reef, the Osborne Tire Reef, according to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Tires were bundled into groups of 8, with plastic scraping designed to not rust or corrode in the water, and were released at depths of 65 to 70 feet between 2 coral reef tracks running parallel to the beach. Despite good intentions, What was supposed to be a reef essentially became an underwater, uninhabited cemetery for the big rubber rings. In 1974, the year after the last tires were dumped, a study showed there were a number of problems, according to the commission. Tires migrated over a large area because of the depth of the water, strong currents, and haphazard dumping. Additionally, inaccurate navigational controls caused the wrong placement of the tires, which led to some landing on and damaging the reef tract. Many of the plastic bands were broken when the bundles stacked on the barge were lifted, and some of the steel-belted tires that were unable to be hole-punched trapped air and floated instead of sinking to the sea floor as intended. In the past couple of years, divers have started removing these tires from underwater, as it has obviously done more harm than good. Number 9. Underwater steam engines. We have all heard of train graveyards, but have you heard of one that is located underwater? Check this out. Off the coast of New Jersey, there is a deep sea train graveyard. Under 90 feet of water lie 2 locomotives that were lost in the 1850s. This graveyard was found by chance by Paul Hepler back in 1985. He was mapping the bottom of the ocean with a magnetometer. The device, when over the graveyard, picked up on the 2 huge metal objects that turned out to be the trains. Despite the murky water, experts have examined the trains in their watery resting places. The locomotives appear to be rare Planet Class 222T models, a model that was only produced for a short time due to the unfortunate fact that they were obsolete almost as soon as they were produced. What remains a mystery, however, is how the 2 steam engines came to be sunk. There are no historical records of them being lost. In fact, there are no records of the engines being built in the first place. It could be that the records with those details had been lost or destroyed in an accident, or perhaps they never existed in the first place. Explorers believe that the engines were lost in a storm 5 miles off the coast of Long Branch, New Jersey, as they were being transported from Boston to the mid-Atlantic. In whatever fashion they came to rest in their current location, the end result is that the 2 engines have been underwater and plagued by rust and barnacles for 160 years. In spite of that, they seem to be remarkably well preserved. Number 8. The Yucatans' hidden underwater river. The ocean is a vast place, so vast that it is basically another planet compared to life above ground. While your mind drifts to bizarre-looking creatures and treasures from the past when imagining what could lie at the bottom, an underwater river probably doesn't spring to mind. You would assume that this is impossible. The Yucatan Peninsula at Mexico's Cenote Angelita is home to many incredible pieces of treasure, ranging from Maya artifacts to ancient human sacrifices, as well as an underwater river. The first 29 meters of the Cenote Angelita contain fresh water, while the underwater river is made up of water and significantly heavier hydrogen sulfide. Where these 2 different densities meet results in a dry, ice-like fog, which is called a halocline, which looks like something out of a horror movie with the waters beneath shrouded in mist. This underwater river is held separate from the rest of the ocean, similarly to how water and oil remain separate when you place them in the same cup. Number 7. Canon of Pirate Blackbeard. Blackbeard, also known as Edward Teach, was one of the most infamous pirates of the golden age of piracy in the early 18th century. His fearsome reputation and distinctive appearance, adorned with lit fuses under his hat, struck terror into the hearts of his victims. He operated in the waters of the West Indies and the eastern coast of the American colonies, plundering ships and coastal settlements. In November 1718, a naval expedition led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard was dispatched to capture or kill him. Maynard and his men engaged Blackbeard's crew in a fierce battle off the coast of Ocracoke Island, North Carolina. Despite a valiant fight, he sustained fatal wounds, and his head was displayed as a trophy, marking the end of his reign of terror. Recently, archaeologists made a significant discovery related to him. A cannon believed to belong to his flagship, Queen Anne's Revenge, which ran aground off the coast of North Carolina in 1718, was pulled from underwater. After nearly 3 centuries underwater, the cannon has become encased in a cement-like shell of sand, salt, and aquatic creatures. It could take years for researchers to learn exactly what the shell contains, in addition to the cannon. This 8-foot-long, 900-kilogram gun, raised above the water's surface, has given archaeologists and historians more ammunition for separating facts from legend surrounding the infamous pirate Blackbeard. Numerous studies are now ongoing on the cannon's construction, origin, and use. This involves detailed analysis, conservation efforts to preserve them, and further research into their historical significance. Additionally, the cannons may be displayed in museums to educate the public about piracy and maritime history. Number 6. The Goblin Shark. The goblin shark is a fascinating species that lives in the open ocean, from near the surface down to depths of at least 4,265 feet. Like many species with a deep-sea affinity, scientists believe goblin sharks only come near the surface at night and spend most of their lives in the dark. The species is noted for its intimidating appearance and its ability to completely unhinge its jaws when feeding. The goblin shark's most conspicuous physical features are the long snout and the teeth. The rostrum is covered with special organs that help these sharks locate prey in the low light of their preferred habitat by sensing the electric field created by other fish. The teeth are long and scraggly, and the goblin shark is one of very few species of shark whose teeth are visible when the mouth is fully closed. In other words, goblin sharks cannot fit all of their teeth in their mouths. Live goblin sharks have only rarely been observed and almost never filmed, so most of scientists' knowledge of this species is a result of their accidental capture in fisheries targeting other species. They are believed to be active predators and to take some fish, as well as squids and pelagic crustaceans. When hunting, they identify prey below their sensitive rostrum and extend their jaws, far from their mouths, to grasp what they find. When feeding in this manner, they look more like something out of an alien movie than a shark. The goblin shark is an amazing discovery underwater because it is rare. Scientists are also fascinated by its unique features and how it survives in the deep ocean, making it an extraordinary underwater discovery. Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. We can see that in this photo, a deep-sea diver captures what no one was supposed to see, as a wrapped corpse is seen sticking out of the submerged. There were many speculations as to whether this diver had accidentally seen a dead body while he was diving. But after investigating, it was discovered that this corpse was a dummy, used to train underwater rescue divers as it prepares them for real-life experiences. If you accidentally see a body like this while diving, what will your reaction be? Number 5. Crusader Sword. A sword that was discovered by a diver off the coast of northern Israel in 2021 was likely lost overboard during a fierce naval battle between Crusaders and Muslim residents of coastal cities. Some 800 years ago, archaeologists announced in an article published that it was encrusted with shells, sands, and hardened microorganisms, also called a biogenic crust. This crust preserved the sword for centuries, since iron usually oxidizes and disintegrates in salt water. But the heavy layer of shells and sand made it difficult for experts to examine the sword more closely. The Israel Antiquities Authority partnered with the Sorek Nuclear Research Center to use cutting-edge X-ray radiography technology to visually penetrate the crust and create a simulation of the sword. During early research into the sword, the crust cracked, exposing and splitting a large part of the iron blade. Researchers decided to continue studying the sword using non-invasive processes only. Using the X-rays, archaeologists believe the sword was almost certainly lost overboard during a battle because the blade was slightly bent and the crossbar was whacked out of alignment. Everything points to the fact that this sword fell into the water during a fight. This weapon was likely a European sword with a 12th century blade and a 13th century pommel or handle. Number 4. World War II plane. In 2018, a team of proficient archaeological divers made headlines with their remarkable discovery in the depths of the Coral Sea off the eastern coast of Australia. Their find, a rare World War II plane resting nearly 3,000 meters below the surface, captured the imagination of historians and enthusiasts. This discovery represents more than just a sunken relic or a recovery of a plane. It also offered fresh perspectives on the events that unfolded during the war. Not long after the initial discovery, researchers revealed that the site also served as the final resting place for several soldiers who perished in the crash. One of the key factors attributed to the success of the expedition is the utilization of advanced technology. From state-of-the-art sonar equipment to remotely operated vehicles, the divers leveraged on tools that helped them with their discovery. Moreover, the discovery of the World War II plane has sparked renewed interest in maritime archaeology, inspiring researchers to delve deeper into the mysteries of the ocean's depths. Number 3. The Lost City of Heracleon. The lost city of Heracleon, which was once the largest port in Egypt, was discovered underwater after more than 2,000 years in the year 2000. Its legendary beginnings date back to as early as the 12th century BC, and it has many links to ancient Greece. Flourishing as long ago as the waning days of the pharaohs, the city was destroyed over time as it was weakened by a combination of earthquakes, tsunamis, and rising sea levels, according to archaeologists. At the end of the 2nd century BC, most likely after a severe flood, the monumental buildings of Heracleon collapsed into the water. Some of its inhabitants stayed in what was left of the city during the Roman era and the beginning of Arab rule, but by the end of the 8th century AD, the rest of Heracleon had sunk beneath the Mediterranean. Now, many of its incalculable treasures have been brought up from the watery depths to which they were banished and have been shown around the world, allowing us to get a glimpse into the ancient Greek and Egyptian world. Heracleon, better known by its original Egyptian name, Thonis, and sometimes called Thonis Heracleon, was an ancient Egyptian port city located 32 kilometers northeast of Alexandria on the Mediterranean Sea. Scientists have described the Heracleon as a bubbling city, judging by the artifacts that were found in it since its discovery. The discovery of this lost and found ancient city impacts our history as they unveil untold stories of civilizations lost to time. Number 2. The Lion City. The underwater city, known as the Lion City or Xicheng, is hidden 40 meters beneath the surface of Qiandao Lake in eastern China. Xicheng was believed to be the most prominent Chinese city that remains well preserved. Many of its homes, temple structures, and paved roads were preserved by being 131 feet underwater. In this way, it was protected from wind, rain, and sun damage. According to the evidence found, the lost city was inhabited for centuries, but is now primarily used as an underwater tourist attraction by tourists and diving experts. Xicheng was named the Lion City, after the nearby Wushi Mountain in the Qiandao Lake. It is believed the city of Xicheng was built during the Tang Dynasty in 621 AD, making it nearly 1,400 years old. Based on records of the region's history, it is thought to be quite large, possibly over 60 football fields, and feature 265 arches throughout the city. Xicheng was also unusual, in that it was constructed with 5 city gates and towers, as opposed to the norm of 4. The city of Xicheng is believed to date back even further to the Han Dong dynasty. The Chinese government planned an expedition to explore the remains of the lost metropolis in 2001 when the city was rediscovered. In 2011, pictures and graphics were published by the Chinese National Geography, which sparked interest among the general public and researchers to explore. Number 1. The Atlet Yam. In 1984, off Israel's Mediterranean coast, marine archaeologist Ehud Galili discovered an ancient settlement that had been submerged for millennia. The site was at first a mystery, but as underwater excavations progressed, the veil was lifted. It turned out to be the biggest and best preserved prehistoric site ever discovered along the Mediterranean shoreline. Atlet Yam, a Stone Age village dating from at least 9,000 years ago, stretches over more than 4 hectares at a depth of 10 meters and comprises houses, altars, and numerous intact tombs containing dozens of bodies, burial objects, the remains of nets, and an altar of cut stone. This makes it an exceptional site, informing us about the way of life of the coastal peoples during the Neolithic period. There were no organized streets, so the site is described as a village rather than a city. But its people lived in spacious stone houses, complete with paved floors, courtyards, fireplaces, storage facilities, and wells. Their exposure, however, has put many of the artifacts in grave danger. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.